Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today in Tesla, it's Friday, February 21st, 2025, and we've got quite a bit of Tesla news to get through today.
Yeah, we've got recalls, potential international partnerships, legal battles, and even a quick look back at Tesla's venture into space.
Okay, well, let's start with the recalls then. Tesla's issuing one for over 375,000 Model 3 and Model Y vehicles from the 2023 model year.
Right, it has to do with a potential issue with the electronic power steering assist system, an overstressed printed circuit board that could fail, and that could lead to increased steering effort at low speeds.
So harder to steer at lower speeds.
Yeah, exactly.
Has anyone been hurt yet?
Not that we know of, no crashes or injuries have been reported, but the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration issued the recall to address the potential.
Okay, so what's the fix? Trips to the service center for 375,000 cars.
No, luckily they're able to address this one with an over-the-air software update.
Oh, thank goodness for that. But this recall comes just weeks after the one for the faulty backup cameras. 2 in a row, pretty close together.
Yeah, it makes you wonder about the quality control over there. Even if they can fix it quickly with software, 2 recalls like that could start to impact how about the brand.
True. Okay, well, moving on from recalls, let's look at some interesting developments with Nissan. It seems like their merger talks with Honda have completely fallen apart.
They have, yeah, which leaves Nissan in kind of a tough spot. Now there's this group of influential Japanese figures who are suggesting that Tesla should invest in Nissan.
Interesting. What's the thinking behind that?
Well, this group includes a former prime minister and a former Tesla board member, and they see Tesla as a potential solution to Nissan's problems.
I see. Are they talking about Tesla fully taking over Nissan or something a bit less drastic?
One suggestion is that Tesla could acquire Nissan's U.S. factories. A lot of them are underutilized right now, so that could give Tesla a lot more manufacturing capacity and potentially help them sidestep any tariff increases if Trump gets reelected.
Makes sense. But would Elon Musk go for it?
He hasn't said anything publicly about it, but in the past, he said he prefers to build new factories rather than taking over existing ones.
So it's still up in the air. We'll have to see how that one develops. Now let's look at Italy, where Tesla and some other automakers are in a bit of hot water.
Yeah, Italy's antitrust agency is investigating them, Tesla, Volkswagen, Stellantis, and BYD, for allegedly misleading consumers.
What kind of information are we talking about here?
The investigation is focused on pricing and financing for their vehicles. They're looking into whether these companies have been hiding or not giving people all the information they need.
I see. So it's all about transparency and making sure consumers know exactly what they're getting into.
Exactly. This investigation shows how much more scrutiny there is in Europe now, especially as more people are switching to EV. Consumer protection is becoming a really big deal.
Okay, now let's talk about Tesla sales figures for a minute. The projections for the first quarter of 2025 are not looking great.
You're right. Analysts are predicting a pretty big drop in vehicle deliveries, reaching levels we haven't seen since 2022.
Ouch. What's causing that?
2 main things. Sales in Europe are way down, and the Chinese market is shrinking a bit.
Not good. It'll be interesting to see what Tesla does to address these issues.
Yeah, how they respond to these challenges will tell us a lot about their ability to adapt and stay competitive.
For sure. In other news, Tesla also just unveiled their updated Model Y in Europe, the Juniper.
It has some design tweaks, upgrades to the interior, and improvements to efficiency. Sounds like they're trying to keep up with all the new European regulations and the increasingly discerning customers over there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if it's enough to stay ahead of the competition.
It will. Deliveries are supposed to start mid-2025.
Okay. Now, let's talk about Elon Musk's rather large compensation package.
Oh, yeah, the $56 billion one.
That's the one. It's facing some pretty serious legal challenges right now.
A court in Delaware struck it down. They were worried about how much it was and whether the board was really independent when they...
So they're concerned that there might have been some conflicts of interest there.
Right. This case is a big deal. It could change how executive compensation is structured, and not just for Tesla, but for all companies.
It really raises some important questions about corporate governance and accountability. And Tesla's legal team is now thinking about moving the company's corporate registration to Texas.
They think the laws in Texas might be more favorable and that it might allow them to get around the ruling from the Delaware court.
Well, this is certainly a legal battle to keep an eye on. It could have major implications for executive compensation and corporate decision-making in general.
Absolutely. The outcome of this case could have a big impact on how companies are run in the future. Tesla's safety record has also been in the news lately after a new study came out.
The one that found Tesla vehicles are involved in more fatal crash than the average car.
Yeah, the study was done by IC Cars. They looked at data from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and found that Tesla vehicles had a fatal crash rate of 5.6 per billion miles driven.
That's more than double the average, which is 2.8 fatal crashes per billion miles driven.
A pretty big difference, and it's definitely raised concerns about how safe Teslas are.
What do you think this means for Tesla going forward.
It's not good for their reputation. People are already worried about Tesla's safety, and this study just adds fuel to the fire.
Yeah, I imagine regulators might start taking a closer look, too.
Exactly. And this also feeds into the debate about Tesla's self-driving features, autopilot and full self-driving.
Even though the study didn't say those features were the cause of the crashes?
Right, but it still makes people question Tesla's overall approach.
Okay, so circling back to that potential partnership between Tesla and Nissan, the one those Japanese figures were suggesting.
Right, they think it could be good for both companies.
In what way? Let's start with Tesla. How would they benefit?
Well, if they bought Nissan's US factory, they'd have a lot more space to build cars, which would help them meet the growing demand.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it could also help them with those potential trade barriers we talked about.
Exactly, like if there are tariff increases under a second Trump administration.
So a lot of potential upsides for Tesla there.
Definitely.
And what about Nissan? What would they get out of it?
Well, they're not doing so well right now. Sales are down, they're under financial pressure, and the competition in the EV market is getting tougher.
So an investment from Tesla would be a big help?
It would give them a much-needed cash injection, and they could learn from Tesla's technology and expertise.
And I bet it would give their brand image a boost, too.
Probably. So yeah, it could be a win-win situation for both.
But like we said before, Elon Musk isn't really known for buying other companies' factories.
True, he usually likes to start from scratch.
So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. Now let's shift gears and talk about India. I hear they're doing something interesting with EV charging infrastructure.
They are. They're being very careful about how much the government invests.
Why is that?
They don't want to spend too much and end up raising electricity prices for everyone.
Ah, I see. So they're trying to balance promoting EVs with keeping energy costs affordable.
Exactly. So instead of building a bunch of charging stations themselves, they're trying to encourage private companies.
That's different from what we see in China and the US, where the government's been pretty heavily involved in building the charging network.
Yeah, it is a different approach.
And what does this mean for Tesla's plans in India?
Well, Tesla really relies on having a good charging network to support its sales, so this could be a bit of a hurdle for them. They might have to partner with private companies to get the charging infrastructure they need.
Interesting. So another challenge for Tesla to navigate in that market.
It is.
Okay. Now, back to those declining sales figures for a minute.
Right.
We talked about them earlier, but I think it's worth digging a little deeper.
Yeah, it's a big deal for Tesla.
They're projecting a pretty significant drop in deliveries.
To levels they haven't seen since 2022.
And we said the main reason for that is slumping sales in Europe?
Yeah.
What exactly is going on over there?
Well, Tesla's facing a lot more competition from European car makers now. They're all coming out with their own EV.
So Tesla's not the only game in town anymore.
Nope. The European market is getting really crowded, and Tesla's feeling the pressure.
And what about China? Is the decline in sales just a European thing?
Not entirely. The Chinese EV market as a whole is slowing down, so that's affecting everyone, including Tesla.
So it's more of a general trend.
Yeah,
Okay, so these declining sales figures are a serious wake-up call for Tesla.
they are.
They need to figure out how to get back on track and stay competitive.
Exactly. They need to come up with some new ideas, maybe form some strategic partnerships, and they definitely need to address those safety concerns we talked about.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about that new Model Y, the Juniper.
Ah, yes.
Seems like they're trying to stay ahead of the game with that one.
They are.
What are some of the key features that set it apart?
Well, it has some design changes, some upgrades to the interior, and they've also made it more efficient.
So it seems like they've been listening to customer feedback.
Yeah, definitely.
And when can we expect to see it on the roads?
Deliveries are supposed to start in mid-2025.
Okay, not too far off now. Back to that legal battle over Elon Musk's compensation package.
Right.
$56 billion is a lot of money.
It is.
And a Delaware court struck down the deal.
They didn't like how much it was, and they weren't convinced that the board was totally independent when they approved it.
So now Tesla's legal team is thinking about moving the company's registration to Texas.
They think they might have better luck under Texas law.
Well, this case is definitely one to watch.
Yes.
It could have a big impact on how companies are run in the future.
Yeah, it raises some important questions about executive pay and how much power it have.
For sure. Okay, let's switch gears again and talk about something a little more fun. Tesla's adventures in space.
Ah, yes.
That Tesla Roadster Elon Musk launched back in 2018.
It captured everyone's imagination.
Do you know where it is now?
Still out there, orbiting the sun. It's traveled trillions of miles by now.
Wow, that's amazing. It's become a symbol of Tesla's ambition.
It has. It shows they're not afraid to take, and they're always pushing the boundaries.
And it generated a ton of publicity for Tesla.
Yeah, it really solidified their image as an innovative and disruptive company.
For sure. Okay, let's talk about those declining sales figures again. We've touched on them a few times, but I think it's important to really understand what's driving this decline.
Yeah, it's a significant development.
The two main factors are those slumping sales in Europe
Right.
and the slight contraction in the Chinese market.
Yeah, those are the big...
So let's start with Europe. What's behind those slumping sales?
Well, Tesla's facing a lot more competition now. All the big European car makers are coming out with their own EVs.
So Tesla's not the only player in town anymore.
Nope. They used to have the market pretty much to themselves, but now you're facing some serious competition.
And that's putting pressure on their sales.
Definitely.
And what about China? What's causing the slowdown there?
The overall growth of the Chinese EV market is slowing down, so everyone's feeling the effects, not just Tesla.
So it's not a Tesla-specific problem.
Right. It's more of a market-wide trend.
Okay, so these declining sales figures are a real challenge for Tesla.
They are.
They need to find a way to turn things around.
They do.
They need to innovate. They need to find new partners.
Yeah.
And they need to make sure their cars are safe.
Absolutely.
If they can do all that, they have a good chance of staying on top.
They do.
But it's not going to be easy.
Nope, the competition is getting fiercer every day. So we've talked a lot about the challenges facing Tesla.
We have recalls, competition, legal battles, and of course those declining sales figures.
Right, and those sales figures are especially worrying. Some analysts are predicting Tesla could deliver as few as 359,000 vehicles in Q1.
That's a pretty big drop.
It is. It would be a 7% drop year over year, and a whopping 27% decrease from last quarter.
Wow, what's causing such a big decline?
Well, Europe is a big part of it. Deliveries there could be down by as much as 50%.
50%, that's huge what's going on in Europe.
A few things. There's more competition from European car makers, the economy isn't doing great, and some people think the EV market might be getting saturated.
So a lot of headwinds for Tesla in Europe.
Yeah.
And they're also seeing a bit of a slowdown in China, right?
They are, although it's not as bad as Europe.
So this is a global issue for Tesla.
It is. They're facing challenges in multiple markets.
And these declining sales figures are a real test for them.
They are. They need to figure out how to adapt and adjust their strategies if they want to stay on top.
What can they do?
Well, in Europe, they might need to rethink their price or come out with new models that are more appealing to European buyers.
Makes sense.
And they need to keep innovating. The competition is fierce. They can't afford to fall behind.
So a lot on Tesla's plate right now.
Definitely. This is a pivotal moment for them. The decision they make now will have a big impact.
Okay, well, let's end on a more positive note. What about new products? What does Tesla have in the pipeline?
Well, there's the Model Y Junior, of course, with all those design tweaks and upgrades.
That's coming out soon, right?
Mid-2025.
So we'll see how that does. Any rumors about other new models?
There's been some talk about a more affordable Tesla, something to compete with the cheaper EVs from other companies.
That would be interesting.
It would. It could really open up the market for them.
But it's all just speculation at this point.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what they announce.
Well, it's clear that Tesla's facing some serious challenges.
It is.
But they've also got a lot of opportunities.
They do. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
It will. Their journey is always full of surprises.
That's for sure.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into Tesla today. We covered a lot of ground: recalls, partnerships, legal battles, sales figures, new products, space adventures. It's been a wild ride.
It has.
And as always, we'll be back tomorrow to dive into even more Tesla news. See you then.